What's up, everyone? So, I was watching SportsCenter on ESPN earlier, and they had this comprehensive segment breaking down all the multiple moves the New York Knicks have been making recently, and honestly, if you've been following their transactions, you're probably very confused right now because the Knicks have signed and waived a number of players back-to-back in rapid succession. The panel was going through each move systematically because there's been a flurry of roster activity that almost looks never-ending when you look at the transaction sheet. They sign a player, then immediately waive him, sign another player, then waive him, sign yet another player, then waive him again. It just goes on and on. So let's break down all of the moves the Knicks made recently, according to the SportsCenter coverage. First off, the New York Knicks officially signed and waived Donovan Williams on an Exhibit 10 contract. Then they did the exact same thing to Isaiah Roby, signing him to an Exhibit 10 deal, then quickly waiving him. Both players got the same treatment. Then the Knicks did the exact same thing with Adama Bal, signing him to an Exhibit 10 contract, and then immediately waiving him. But the roster moves were not done there. They did the same thing with Romeo Langford, signing him then waiving him right after. And then finally, they ended this particular streak by signing and waiving Brahim Diallo. Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we jump into everything today, let me be straight with you for just a second. You know what actually keeps this channel going and helps us grow? It's that like button right there. If you haven't hit it yet, do it right now. I'm talking literally 1 second of your time. Those likes are what push this video to more people across the platform. And honestly, they make all the difference between this content reaching hundreds or thousands of viewers. So seriously, just tap that like button real quick. It seems small, but it's genuinely the most powerful thing you can do to support what we're building here. I appreciate each and every one of you for that. Now you might be asking yourself, why did the Knicks sign and waive 5 players straight in a row like that? Well, the main reason the organization did that, according to the SportsCenter breakdown, was because they're trying to stack their Westchester Knicks G League affiliate team with quality prospects. All of these players that the Knicks just signed and waived now have significant financial incentive to join the Knicks G League team because each and every single one of these players, once they're signed and waived in this specific manner, using Exhibit 10 contracts, receives about an $85,000 bonus incentive to join the Westchester squad. Some of these players are definitely going to jump at that opportunity for a couple key reasons. Number one, they get substantially more money than a standard G League salary. And number two, they get to develop within the New York Knicks organization and potentially show off their skill set to NBA decision-makers with a chance to earn a call-up. But other than those G League roster moves, New York was not done with their transactions. They also made one final critical move, and this move basically cemented everything they're doing moving forward and revealed the final player they're adding to the 15-man roster. The final update from Knicks PR showed that New York waived Alex Len, Garrison Matthews, and Matt Ryan. That's right, it's now official. Landry Shamet is officially part of this Knicks roster for the season. NBA insider James L. Edwards III with The Athletic provided crucial information about this decision. According to Edwards' reporting, Landry Shamet landed the last available roster spot. The Knicks went into training camp with veterans Shamet, Malcolm Brogdon, and Garrison Matthews, all on non-guaranteed contracts and fighting for essentially one roster spot that was available. New York seriously entertained the idea of creating an additional roster spot to add 2 of those veterans to the team. They were even shopping around promising but raw youngster Pacome Didiet in potential trades to open up that extra space. However, Malcolm Brogdon abruptly retiring toward the end of the preseason made the decision significantly easier for the Knicks front office brass. The team announced Saturday that they will waive Garrison Matthews and keep Landry Shamet on the roster. The veteran shooters have very overlapping skill sets, so once Brogdon took himself out of the equation by retiring, New York wasn't as eager to create an open roster spot just to keep 2 extremely similar players with redundant skills. The Knicks, per league sources, were genuinely impressed with Garrison Matthews during training camp and his preseason performance. But they ultimately gave the nod to Shamet, who was with the team last season, can shoot at a high level, and is considered a bit better of an overall defender than Matthews. The Sports Center analyst said he knew this decision was coming and had been calling it for weeks, especially after Malcolm Brogdon announced his retirement. At that point, there was never a need anymore to make a trade to open roster space. The only reason the Knicks were considering making a trade before Brogdon retired was because they wanted to keep both Landry Shamet and Malcolm Brogdon on the roster together. But the organization never wanted to keep both Landry Shamet and Garrison Matthews since their skill sets are too similar. So as soon as Brogdon announced his retirement, the analyst said it was obvious that there was no way New York was going to pivot and make a trade anymore. At that point, making a trade didn't make sense. What made perfect sense was to do exactly what they did: sign one player in Shamet and waive everybody else competing for that spot. Now the New York Knicks roster is completely set and finalized. Even with Landry Shamet on the roster, if you look at the bench depth, the Knicks have 9 players they can comfortably utilize as part of their regular rotation without even thinking about Shamet's role. You can add a 10th rotation player by including either Jericho Sims or Tyler Kolek, depending on matchups. If you want to talk about an 11th player, that's where you can slot in Landry Shamet. Sometimes Shamet might be the 10th player off the bench getting minutes, sometimes he might be the 11th or 12th man, depending on the game situation. It will all depend on head coach Mike Brown, who the Knicks are playing that particular night, and the specific matchups. Because if the matchup favors Landry Shamet's skill set, he will be in the game sometimes over a few other bench players. The analyst said he's going to be perfectly fine with that approach, because if it helps the Knicks get the victory, he doesn't care who's in the game off the bench as long as the bench unit is being utilized properly. Under Mike Brown's coaching, without a doubt, that's going to happen. We've already seen it throughout the preseason. Sometimes 9 players get rotation minutes, sometimes 10 players, sometimes 11 players depending on the situation. But if Brown sees a need for you in a particular game, you are going to be part of that game's rotation. The panel wasn't surprised the Knicks went in this direction with Shamet. They've talked about his defense and three-point shooting ability numerous times, but ultimately, the main reason he's back with this Knicks team is because of the chemistry he has with a number of key players on the roster. Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, the entire Knicks bench unit including Miles McBride and Tyler Kolek. Shamet has been there before, he's played with these guys, he's built relationships with them. This is the type of veteran player you want as part of your championship contending team, somebody who complements the roster in exactly the right way. Shamet can do everything you need somebody at the end of the bench to do effectively, and he's never going to complain about playing limited minutes or reduced role. That right there was probably the main selling point for New York's front office. The message to Shamet was clear: you're going to be on this team and you'll play when needed, but you're not going to play heavy, consistent minutes. You're only going to play when it's absolutely necessary based on matchups. Shamet completely understands that reality. He understands the assignment, and he understands his specific role on this Knicks team, and ultimately, that's why he's been added back to the roster. Looking at the betting odds, FanDuel has the Knicks regular season win total set at 53.5 game. For the over, they have it at -104, and for the under, they have it at -118. What this means is Vegas believes that either way, the New York Knicks will be somewhere around this 53 to 54 win mark. However, whether they'll significantly exceed this win total or fall below, it is anybody's guess, and Vegas really can't definitively call it one way or another. So it's going to be up to the Knicks to prove themselves, prove their worth this season, and show everybody why they're a legitimate championship contender and potentially why they can win 60-plus games. The SportsCenter panel thought it was interesting to discuss the regular season and the amount of wins the Knicks will accumulate this year, because honestly, even though New York is going to be very competitive during the regular season, you're probably going to see a different version of this Knicks team in terms of how they treat those 82 games. This core group has been to the playoffs before, and they know exactly what they need to do. They need to play hard and win games consistently. But they do not need to overplay their starter. They do not need to burn their key rotation players out or play them into the ground before the playoffs even start. What the Knicks need to do is establish a consistent schedule and structure for load management. As long as they have that system in place and they're following it religiously, come postseason time, they're going to have accumulated a lot of wins while maintaining a very healthy team that has the chemistry needed to go very far in the playoffs with aspirations of reaching the NBA Final. That's the ultimate goal. Under Mike Brown's coaching, we're already seeing that philosophy happening. Mitchell Robinson on load management, no starter playing over 34 minutes per game, with some nights playing even less than that. Some veteran players not playing back-to-back games. Why would the Knicks be implementing all these rest strategies? Because they want to prevent injuries, keep this roster as healthy as possible throughout the season, continue building chemistry, and come post-season time, have one of the best and healthiest versions of this Knicks team that we've ever seen assembled. If that's the ultimate goal, and they execute that plan successfully, the Knicks will absolutely be serious NBA Finals contenders. The analyst is completely on board with this approach because this year could genuinely be New York's year, and the organization needs to do whatever it takes to get to the NBA Finals and win a championship for the first time since 1973. So that was the full SportsCenter breakdown of all the Knicks roster moves and the insider confirmation about why New York ultimately chose to sign Landry Shamet over Garrison Matthews for that final roster spot. What's up, everyone? So I was watching SportsCenter on ESPN earlier, and they had this absolutely fascinating segment breaking down the shocking truth behind the New York Knicks' latest roster moves. And honestly, it became very clear what this team is doing going forward. The Knicks are going all in on a very controversial player that fans have been quite split on, while also trusting in other talents that we've seen work out after the retirement of Malcolm Brogdon completely shook up the Knicks' plans and changed a lot for this organization. The panel was going over everything that Malcolm Brogdon's retirement has recently changed, with roster deadline day being the final day that rosters get finalized before the regular season tips off. On top of that, there's a decision the Knicks made that definitely threw fans for a bit of a loop after there was significant consideration about New York going ahead and adding 2 veteran players to the roster. We've now seen those plans shift dramatically. Hey, what's up, everyone? Real quick, before we get into all this, I gotta be honest with you about something. That like button makes or breaks whether this content reaches the people who need it most. So if you could do me one tiny favor right now and just hit that like, you'd be helping this channel in ways you probably don't even realize. I'm talking one tap, 1 second of your time, but it genuinely changes everything for the algorithm and getting this out to everyone. So please, just take that 1 second right now and smash that like button. It helps me continue bringing you this content, and I appreciate every single one of you who takes the time to do it. So the SportsCenter discussion centered around Tyler Kolek, who has been a player mentioned in a lot of trade talks recently, and someone that fans have been pretty split on. Some are saying, you know what? Give Kolek some time and let him try to prove he can be the backup point guard for this team. The Knicks need to develop some sort of future talent, and Tyler Kolek has shown flashes that he can be an NBA-level player. So the question becomes, do the Knicks go ahead with him now that Malcolm Brogdon is no longer on the team, or even in the NBA anymore? Brogdon was only on the Knicks for a couple days before retiring, only playing for New York briefly, because obviously he went and retired from professional basketball after just deciding that he didn't want to play another year in the league. Brogdon was grappling with that difficult decision and ultimately decided he would retire from the sport. Because of that retirement, everything has sort of taken a turn where we're now watching this Knicks organization desperately trying to figure out what to do now, because Brogdon was absolutely going to be their backup point guard this season. So now, things have changed significantly because Brogdon was locked in to make the roster before his shocking retirement. With a ton of speculation going around, the SportsCenter crew had a few different angles to cover on this situation. Jalen Brunson spoke about the backup point guard situation and said the team is in good hands. Actually, great hands. Tyler Kolek has been getting better every single day in practice. Deuce McBride has been getting better every day as well. Those guys come in and work on their game non-stop. When you see that dedication and work ethic, you have the utmost confidence that when their number is called, they're going to be ready to go. So like Brunson said, the Knicks are in good hands with those options. Mike Brown mentioned that whoever grabs that backup point guard spot, the coaching staff feels like they have a deep roster, and a lot of guys will have an opportunity to earn whatever minutes might have been available or might not have been there previously. It's just a case of players earning their stripes, and the team will figure it out at the end of the day in terms of whoever's going to get whatever minutes become available. According to reporting from Peter Botte, the more experienced Miles McBride figures to be the leading internal option for that backup point guard role, but Brown also could give a legitimate chance to the little-used Tyler Kolek, who netted 20 points with 6 assists in 23 minutes in Monday's preseason game against the Washington Wizards. Tyler Kolek has shown in extended minutes that he could put up impressive numbers. The question, according to the SportsCenter analysis, is can he score with efficiency, and can he play adequate defense? That's one of the big concerns surrounding Kolek. It's not about whether Tyler Kolek is able to pass or handle the ball. Those skills are clearly there. It's really about can he play efficient enough defense and shoot the ball efficiently enough? Because right now his playmaking is absolutely there. He's an excellent playmaker and ball handler. The question is, can he do the rest of what's required at the NBA level? Throughout these preseason games, discounting the most recent one, Kolek has actually been pretty good overall. In the last game he played, he put up 6 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist against the Hornets in the final preseason game. But he did have that impressive 20-point showing where he went 7 for 13 from the field, though he only shot 1 for 5 from three-point range. His three-point shooting has not been efficient at the NBA level between Summer League and preseason action. Thus far, he's only shot 34% from the field and 16% from 3. So that's the major concern. Kolek's not scoring efficiently enough, and he's not a good enough defender yet to really carve out a rotation role if he's just going to be a facilitator passing the ball around. When it comes down to Tyler Kolek, the panel highlighted that he showed up and showed out at Madison Square Garden, which is absolutely huge that he was able to perform in that environment. There was also discussion about practice jersey colors and what they indicate about rotation status. Kolek wearing the gray backup jersey instead of the blue starter jersey suggests he's found his way into the top 10 of the rotation, at least in training camp. That's where the Knicks are viewing him because he wasn't always wearing that rotation color previously. So what we've seen now is Tyler Kolek starting to show, at least in training camp and preseason, that he can ball out, that he can play, and that he can play quite well when given the opportunity. The backup point guard options being discussed include more of a traditional point guard role for Jordan Clarkson, Deuce McBride, and potentially Josh Hart, though Hart probably won't play a ton of point guard, despite being a solid playmaker. There's also more potential playing time for Kolek, which now seems likely. Or the Knicks could look at making a trade or signing someone like Spencer Dinwiddie, checking in on Victor Oladipo, Alec Burks, or other veteran point guards. Those are all options that wouldn't be surprising if the Knicks eventually look into. The analyst talked about Dinwiddie a bit, and wouldn't be shocked if the Knicks take a serious look at him. But at this point, it does feel like the Knicks are going to hold off and wait on that whole decision about adding another point guard to the roster and see how the current group can perform. The panel kind of likes this approach because Deuce McBride, Tyler Kolek, and especially Jordan Clarkson should be able to handle the backup point guard responsibilities. And if they can't perform adequately, then the Knicks will make a decision based on that reality before trading away a young player prematurely and realizing they didn't even need to make that move. That would be a waste, and they'd lose someone like Bakoma Dadiet unnecessarily. That's the really important point here. The Knicks can decide to hold off, and if they need a point guard in March or later in the season, they can try to figure that out then. and potentially trade a young asset for a point guard at that time. But right now, they don't have to rush into any decisions. They'll see how this season goes, play it by ear, and can make moves in the middle of the season, if necessary. So they don't have to make a major roster decision right at this moment. That's where the Knicks have positioned themselves, especially after waiving Garrison Matthews, which was the big roster move. The Knicks waiving Matthews put them in position to sign Landry Shamet and finalize that 15-man roster. Matthews getting waived was pretty surprising, and nobody really expected that coming after the way he was playing in preseason. Many thought the Knicks might just add both Shamet and Matthews to the roster. The Knicks didn't see a need for carrying both players and went with Landry Shamet, who the analyst acknowledged Matthews was playing better than him in preseason, but it's still an uphill battle for Matthews because the organization really likes Landry Shamet. Shamet is legitimately a great role player. He played excellently last season, putting up 6 points per game while shooting 40% from 3 and 47% on corner threes specifically. Shamet had an excellent run with the Knicks last year, and in the playoffs, he played even better, shooting 53% from 3 when he played those 4 games where he actually had rotational minutes against the Pacers. He played excellent basketball, showed he's a hard-nosed competitor, played really good defense, and was just a positive plus-minus player with the Knicks throughout that playoff run. Because of that proven playoff performance, the Knicks trusted those results and decided to go with Shamet again. The analyst personally likes the move of bringing back Landry Shamet. On top of that roster decision, Deuce McBride has been a solid performer as well, and the analyst is fine with McBride going out there and playing significant backup point guard minute because in the playoffs, Jalen Brunson's going to play 38 minutes per game anyway. So you only have to find 10 minutes without Jalen Brunson on the floor. Between Jordan Clarkson and Deuce McBride handling those minutes, the analyst really isn't worried about the backup point guard situation. He genuinely doesn't think it's going to change the team's championship aspirations that much in the grand scheme of things. It's going to be interesting to see how the Knicks navigate this situation moving forward. Obviously, there's no doubt that Brogdon's retirement changes Mike Brown's plans significantly, but at the end of the day, it will be fascinating to see what exactly the Knicks are going to do going forward and how Brown navigates these roster decisions. Clearly, it's up for debate. Can Tyler Kolek fight his way into the regular rotation? Can Jordan Clarkson establish himself as a legitimate backup point guard? Will Deuce McBride, a career combo guard-type player, find his groove in an expanded role? There are a bunch of questions the organization has to answer as the season progresses. So that was the full Sports Center breakdown of the shocking truth behind the Knicks' newest roster moves and what it all means for Tyler Kolek's opportunity this season after Malcolm Brogdon's unexpected retirement.